Hello and welcome back to the Pain Free for Life podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rob Vanbergen, and today I'm joined by Christopher Maher. Retired U.S. Navy SEAL, best-selling author, and holistic wellness pioneer, Christopher is regarded as the unparalleled authority in stress resolution, in stress healing, personal evolution, and longevity. His journey mirrors the tenacity of many elite athletes, initially grappling with intermittent joint discomfort that swiftly evolved into a symphony of pain, touching every joint from feet to lower back and neck. He was headed for the precipice of a full-fledged hip replacement. This extreme stress caused Christopher's hearing to wane and his vision to dim, compelling him to even have to start reading lips for communication. Amidst unyielding adversity, Christopher dedicated himself to seeking out the answers that would help alleviate his discomfort. Now, in this episode, Christopher and I discuss the differences between stress management and stress resolution, a very important distinction you will come to learn. Positive stress management and negative stress management techniques are also discussed here, and the transactional nature of managing stress. We also discuss the absolute best investment that you can make in managing your stress in your wellness journey.
Welcome back to Pain Free for Life, where we share how to successfully overcome all kinds of chronic and extreme conditions to live happy, productive, pain-free lives forever. And now, here's your host, co-founder, and board-certified holistic healthcare practitioner, Dr. Rob Vanbergen.
Christopher, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm fresh back from the Olympics and from Sweden at the Ironman in Kalmar. And so I'm happy to be home in my own environment, restoring my energy, restoring my body. First thing I did when I got up this morning is I went to see one of my body workers, this guy named Terry Seward. And he worked on me for about 35 minutes, and now I'm back in my zone.
Good. That's what we want you, because we're going to be talking about stress, and hopefully talking about stress won't increase stress.
Yeah, no. I get so much enjoyment from this. So
good.
This will be a stress-free conversation.
Good. Perfect. I'm looking forward to it. I think one of the things that really resonated with me is that you kind of talk a lot about stress resolution instead of stress management. And we do the same with pain. We talk about pain resolution versus pain management. And even though we know how big of a piece stress is, it's interesting to me to see that word resolution after stress, because it's not something that we typically kind of frame in that way. So what would you say is the difference between stress management and stress resolution?
Well, I mean, stress management has a few different phases. And the first phase is stress ignorance, right? And that's where most humans are aware of the term of stress, but they're unaware of the cost. Right. So they go into events, they have experiences, they feel bad the next day, but they're unaware that that experience that they had, if they have them multiple days in a row, or multiple weeks, or multiple months, or multiple years in a row, there's going to be an eventual cost that they have to pay. And there's going to be some state of dis-ease that arises. And one of those states could be depression, right? Another state could be low energy. Another base state could be foggy mind. Another base state could be anxiety. Another base state could be frustration, irritation, agitation, anger, either emotional anger or physical anger. And so most people are in what I call the category of stress ignorance, meaning they're moving through the world, they're having experiences, but they haven't assessed what the cost is and what the actual return on investment is. And if it's actually worth their time to participate in specific substances, in specific dynamics. And if they knew of the cost, would they make the choice to participate? And my sense is that most people really wouldn't. So that's one phase, and the question is, when you move out of stress ignorance, what do you move into? You move into stress management, and there's positive stress management tools and there's negative stress management tools. And so we can go one for one here. Breath work, positive stress management tool. Okay.
Yeah.
Alcohol, negative stress management tool. Okay. Yoga, positive stress management tool. Caffeine, negative stress management tool. Meditation, positive stress management tool. Recreational drugs, negative stress management tool. And so people are only going to use and pull from their environment what they have access to. So I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. My mom was from the coal regions, and there was no yoga. There was no meditation. There was no breath work. So people used what was available. What was available was beer.
Yeah.
Right. So you have a hard day's work. You have a stressful day at school. Soon as you get home, you call up your friends. Everyone pitches in $2. You get a keg. You drag it into the woods. You play some great music and you have a couple beers with your friends. And that's how people were dealing with their stress. So how do you move from stress ignorance into a positive stress management? And usually what happens is the person has some kind of pain, some kind of discomfort that's become chronic. And suddenly they go, the things that I used to do before aren't helping anymore. So the caffeine that they're drinking, no matter how much they drink now, they can't override the exhaustion that they feel.
Right.
So now they need to find a professional who's going to go, hey, listen, man, you are in adrenal fatigue. You got to get off all stimulants, okay, in order for us to rebuild your reservoirs of energy in your kidneys and your adrenal glands. So most humans, and I was that human. I was the one who was just driving forward with no concept of the cost, meaning the expenditure of energy and whether or not I was restoring each day. So if I'm spending 100 watts, but at night I'm only restoring 40, well, there's a net loss of 60. Well, I can take that net loss for a while, meaning I can dig into my kidney. So in terms of how the ancients think about it, okay, we're talking about Eastern philosophy, Eastern medicine. They have this concept where the body has specific organs that hold your energy. And so you can either spend your capital or you can spend your interest. Well, when I was going through SEAL training and being in the SEAL teams and training for the Olympic trials and going to medical school, I was eating up my capital, okay, rather than spending my interest.
Mm.
And so with this concept is, hey, you live a good life, meaning you eat good food, you drink clean water, you take heartfelt action to the benefit of those you love and yourself. You meditate, you do breath work, you take really good care of your body. And then guess what happens at the end of the night? That energy gets returned from your liver back into your kidneys. And so now all of the good things you did for yourself that day are actually extending your life experience. And as you extend your life experience and you have more energy, guess what you're going to choose to do? You're going to choose to engage in positive stress management strategies, positive stress management tools. If your energy is low and you're young and you're vital because of your age, you're going to ignore all of the signs that your body's giving you. Because even if you only get 5 hours sleep, the next day you're going to feel okay. But once you start hitting those mid 30s, right? Upper 30s, you start hitting 40 and you go out for a night and you have 6 beers, a couple, whiskeys, and you get home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, the way you feel on Sunday is dramatically different than how you felt on Sunday when you were 17 years old and you pulled off the same stunt. And so the thing about humans, the human body, is as we age, we start losing access to core reserves of energy because we spent them on nonsense. Right? And so the key is, how do you shift now from stress ignorance out of negative stress management strategies and tools? And again, those are simple, right? Negative stress management tools, we can name them: nicotine, caffeine, alcohol, pharmaceutical drugs, recreational drugs, processed food, food colorings, dishonesty, violence, anxiety, all these strategies that people engage in. The easiest thing to change in all of those strategies is your relationship with substance. Because the thing that has the greatest effect on you is what you put in your body, meaning the fluids you put in your body and the types of foods that you put in your body. And so if you upgrade those to high level, then yeah, every once in a blue moon, you can go to an event, you can take a risk, but because your core energies being restored constantly, it doesn't have such a negative effect on you. Mm. And so my sense is that most humans, once they have the information, and then two, they take a risk to apply the information and they get the result that they want, they're probably going to adopt a new habit, which is a positive stress management strategy to live through your whole life. So there's just certain things that I refuse to do, you know? Yeah. And look, I fly around the world. I'm super busy. I'm always spinning 100 plates simultaneously. Yet there's certain things that I don't break, right? And my relationship with food, my relationship with beverage, and my relationship with substance is at the highest level. And it's been that way for a very long time. And now, how do you shift out of that into stress resolution? Well, stress resolution means most people think that when they stop doing the things that are negative, that's a great place to start. And guess what? It's a good place to start, but stopping putting in the negative never repairs the damage that you've already done. And this is the fallacy that exists within the personal development community. Like, okay, I'm sober now. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. But guess what? You still have a little brain fog. Your brain's a lot better, but you still have some fog. You still have some memory loss. Your sleep patterns are still a bit chaotic. And the question is why? Because they've never gone into repairing the damage that they've done. And the beautiful thing about it is it will always show you pain. It will give you pain to tell you, hey, listen, Susie, you got a problem. And you can take a numbing agent, whatever your agent is, whether it's a pharmaceutical or it's a recreational, but the pain still exists underneath that agent. You've only numbed out your brain, so you have less of a relationship with the true sensation of that feeling that your body's attempting to tell you, hey, you're on high red alert right now. And I'm going to give you a sign, and that sign is neck pain or neck stiffness. Or that sign is low back pain or low back stiffness. Or that sign is insomnia. Or that sign is intense menstrual cramps. Or that sign is blurry vision. Or that sign is a loss of smell. Or that sign is a loss of taste. Or that sign is any number of the hundreds of symptoms that humans get all the time. Those are your body sending you a life raft to say, hey, buddy, you're drowning in some kind of stress that you don't understand. And I'm showing you that you need help. And the beautiful thing about the place we are in the world now is you can go to any city and find capable practitioners.
Yeah.
to help you get out of your pain. And like, look, whatever resonates with you. Some people are going to be in massage, some people are going to be in yoga, some people are going to be into breath work, some people are going to be into chiropractic care. Like, whatever you got to do to get out of it, do it and keep on doing it until it disappears forever. But because I'm in stress resolution, I have created systems that exist outside of the systems that everybody has access to around the world. And those are really fun for me because they create immediate change. And I'm into something that radically shifts you out of that base state of discomfort and pain.
Right, absolutely. So the stress management tools, it's interesting because the way you're kind of framing it is something that I don't think a lot of people think of, is that separation between positive and negative stress management. Because it's very common, right, for people to just say, oh, I manage my stress. And I've had patients before that said one of the ways I manage it is that glass of whiskey a night. That's what I'm staring down. But to think of that as a negative tool versus something positive like meditation is a very interesting approach, because they do all get lumped together. So when you're kind of working with these stress management tools, negative and positive, can they actually affect permanent change, or are they just managing things? Are they actually going to help people get to resolution?
Well, I mean, a negative stress management tool, you can only take a negative so far, right? So the pendulum is only going to swing to the left for so long, and then you're going to end up with some debilitating state of dis-ease.
Right.
And then if that is the thing, like the doctor comes in and says, hey, Butch, we found some polyps in your colon. And we need to do a biopsy. Can you come back into the office? And they do a biopsy and it comes back that he has cancer. And then, well, now he's willing to make the change because he said he's 44 years old. And he's like, I got 3 kids. You mean I could literally be dead? And so sometimes people have to continue to keep using negative stress management tools until they create a dynamic that is very sobering. And there's nothing more sobering than a doctor coming in going, hey, Butch, you got cancer, buddy. We need to make some life changes. And so I would prefer people not have to get that far. Now, positive stress management tools can create positive change, but what they require is absolute devotion. So if you're going to get into a yogic practice, you can't show up once a month. Okay. If you've got chronic back pain for 7 years, one yoga class isn't going to do it for you. Okay. Because you have so much time locked into that base state of structural dysfunction that you need a force that's greater than the state that has you locked in. Right? Because it changes directly proportional to the amount of force applied, right? To that lockdown state. So what do we have to do? We have to create tools that are bigger and more effective than your strategies to defeat yourself. And so in stress resolution, we have bigger, better tools. Because, when someone's been on track A for 25 years, right? And let's just take alcohol, for instance, or caffeine, because they severely dehydrate the body, or soda. Okay. And they've been ingesting these substances. Their tissues have been drying out for decades, right? They've been getting drier every decade, a little drier, a little drier, a little drier. And eventually they're so dry that all they need is a tiny little event. They're in Paris, they're at the Olympics, and they step off the curb slightly incorrectly. And the next thing you know, they have a debilitating knee injury. And they think, well, I just stepped off the curb. I don't know what happened. Well, what happened was the 25, 30 years of you drying out your system instead of moistening your system, that left all of your structural tissues, your ligaments, your fascia, your muscles, your tendons so dry that all you need is a tiny little tweak and a tiny little twist, and something now tears because your body's brittle. And so when you get into positive stress management tools and strategies, you have to have a serious amount of devotion. And I say, look, if you're going for big change twice a week, that's a lot. For someone to go from nothing to something, it's a big step. But at least go twice a week. Like if you're not into cardio, I know a lot of people like, I don't like running or biking. Okay, go for a 15-minute walk. But do something. Because if you do nothing, it's only going to get worse. And the beautiful thing about the body's smart. Mm-hmm. Right? It says, Susie's not listening. Let's give her something else. Let's turn up the heat a little louder. Right? And humans that have a lot of energy and have strong wills, they can deal with a lot of daily discomfort. But there's certain levels of discomfort that they can't deal with. And those are like migraine headaches, right? But if I get a migraine headache and all I have to do is go to the store to get some pills to swallow, and I can't feel my migraine headache anymore, well, that's not resolution. Mm-hmm. That's numbing you out from what's actually occurring underneath. You have to discover what's actually causing the migraine headache in the first place. Never treat your symptoms. Always look for problems. And in stress resolution, we do a deep investigation when we're working with somebody for a couple hours to see like, well, what are your, what negative stress management tools have you been using? Mm-hmm. What positive stress management tools have you been engaged in? Wow, this scale is like really light on the positive stress management tools, and it's really heavy on the negative stress management tools. What are we going to do? We're just going to we're going to switch things around. That's it. We're going to bring this one down and bring this one up. And then what's going to happen is their symptoms that they're dealing with, they're going to disappear, and they're going to think I'm like a magician. I hear this all the time. Like, oh my God, you're so magical. And it's like, no, I'm idiot proof. I'm not magical at all. But what I can do is I can identify your negative stress management strategies pretty easily, and I can help you replace those with positive stress management tools and get you engaged in like a 15, 20-minute program every day that's going to radically change your energy. It's going to be more abundant. Your mind is going to be more quiet. Your anxiety is going to decrease severely, and your body is going to be more comfortable. And what human in their right mind wouldn't want a quiet mind, grounded emotions, abundant, unrelenting energy, and a comfortable, strong, flexible body? Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
The only person who wouldn't want that is someone who was ignorant, meaning they didn't know that it was possible. And guess what? When I first got into this game, it wasn't possible. I went to anyone and everyone who knew anything about anything. And if I needed to go a mile, most of them, they only took me an inch. I was grateful for that inch because at least I had some relief from the debilitating pain and discomfort that I was suffering from.
Right. And, it is unfortunate, isn't it? Because we live in a society where the passive thing, like reaching for the pills and saying you're doing something about it when you take the pills or when you take the drink and you think, oh, I feel good now. That's the way people want to go. And we do always come up against that. It's more challenging, as you said, to get someone to do a 15-minute walk a day than it is to pop a Tylenol each day. Yeah. Right. And that is it's just the condition of society that obviously we're working to change. Moving towards those positive stress management techniques then, which can have lasting effects in the positive way. Because obviously the negative ones can have lasting effects in the negative way too, right?
Yes.
And you're right. I mean, people have to get to rock bottom, they call it, right? Sometimes before they are willing to turn around. It's just unfortunate because it's not always possible, right? Sometimes we do hit that point and it's too late. So
Yeah, that's right. You hit that point and it's too late. And if you're a parent and you have kids, you have a judiciary responsibility,
yeah,
right? To serve these children powerfully. And that means to be there for them in their moment of need. And if your energy is too low or your mind is too active, your emotions are, you're too anxious and your body is too uncomfortable, how are you going to be present for your kids?
yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I feel like one of the things that stressed me out the most, and I only really, it's funny because you use the word cost a lot. And I only really started to view things from a cost perspective around November of last year, 2023. And I suddenly realized that certain relationships I was maintaining with friends and even extended family members, the cost was too high for me. And I was not getting enough benefit back. So and when I mentioned that to my wife, she was like, that's a really harsh way of looking on things, like that relationships can be transactional. But, when you're putting your all into something, you're losing a lot of energy that you're not regaining. And when I kind of had that realization, yes, I lost a few people in my life from that, but I got so much better and less stressed as a result of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because that is kind of a stressor for some people, can be relationships, and coming into it and saying, it's easy to say to someone, oh, well, it's hard actually to say to someone, well, yeah, clearly your relationship is not serving you well. You should just quit it. That can be very hard for people to do. And I've seen that with abused individuals before, and I've never been able to say that to them. Mm-hmm. It's easier said than done, right? Is really what I'm trying to get with this. But yeah. Interesting perspective.
I mean, I think as you get older, you value time and energy more because you understand how precious it is. Now, a lot of people consider time to be the most precious commodity on earth. I think love is. Okay. And if you love what you're doing, you're loving yourself every day. And what I mean by that is someone who loves themselves eats well. Somebody who loves themselves drinks well. Somebody who loves themselves sleeps well. Somebody who loves themselves exercises and invests in their physical, their emotional, their psychological, and their spiritual development well. What I mean when I say well is consistently. And loving yourself, which is the feminine version of love, right? The feminine version of love is for me to love me. The masculine version of love is for me to love you. If I'm loving you more than I'm loving me, in the end, I'm going to be so drained that when I am loving you, the cost is going to break our relationship. So it would be better for me to begin my day investing in me, right, so that I have a place to come from, right? And I say, look, if you're going to have someone in your life, come from a place of energy, come from a place of consistency, come from a place of sobriety, meaning you're in reality. Because you can't keep up relationships that have, massive amount of loss for you. Mm-hmm. And you're not helping them anyway. In the end, you're interfering with their ability to find the support that they actually need, which might just be professional support. And in my friendships, I don't want to be professional support for my friends. I want them to seek professionals. I want to have a good time with my friends. Like my brother, he's overweight by like 100 pounds, right? He drinks soda. He's for the most part, his diet's pretty good, but he's stressed. Okay. But he's my brother. I'm not his therapist. I don't tell him what to eat. I don't tell him what to drink. I don't offer him any physical help. Very, 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 very little, because he's my brother. If he wants help, he'll seek out a professional.
Yeah.
So in my personal relationships, I don't want those to be professional relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
what can be draining.
Yeah. Because especially when you're getting into that transactional cost thing, it almost feels like you are being their professional, even though, that's not what this relationship was ever set out to be, right, in the first place.
Yeah. And so it's, I think people have to assess, and you have to assess yearly. You have to set up your goals. You have to assess, what is it that I want to experience this year? What's in the way? And mostly what's in the way is unresolved stress. You pull that out of the way, because guess what? Life is pain. Okay. There's no way around it. I live in LA. I'm going to be breathing some toxic air. Okay. I live in LA. I'm going to be showering in some toxic water. Okay. There's going to be pain. There's always going to be a cause. But if you are engaged in stress resolution and positive stress management strategies, you're constantly lowering what you're picking up from the day before. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because your sleep is only designed to repair what the damage you did from the day before. Okay. Meaning the unresolved stress. So let's get a good night's sleep, and let's wake up the next day full and energized so that we can get after it again. But if you're listening to the call and you're someone who struggles with taking heartfelt action to your own benefit, call someone up and tell them that cares about you. Go, look, I really struggle with showing up for me and loving myself. It's easy to love other people. None of that will ever truly fill you up the way you can fill up from loving yourself. And do you need a lot of it? No. But you need a little bit every day. 10, 15, 20 minutes. If you can give yourself 5 minutes of meditation, a 10-minute walk, and 5 minutes of exercise, intense exercise, you're going to feel good the next day. You're going to feel, one, your esteem is going to get higher. You're going to feel good about yourself. And then you're going to take another little risk, and you're going to go, maybe I'll invest a half an hour next week each day. And then you're going to be like, well, maybe I'll invest 40 minutes. I don't think anyone needs to invest more than 45 minutes a day to be at maximal health in order to feel really, really good. I think most humans overdo it. If you exercise for 30 minutes and you meditate for 10 and you do breath work for 5, I think you're going to be awesome. I think you're going to be feeling like amazing, right? And do you have to do it all at once? No. Maybe in the morning, you get out of bed and you go, look, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to focus on what I want my experience to be today. And I'm going to do it when I'm in the shower. I've got hot water pouring over my head. I'm sitting there. I'm going to do it. I'm sitting on the toilet. You don't have to put special time in your day to make these things happen. So if you live 10 minutes from work, well, instead of getting in your car, just walk, right? And then take an Uber home. It's easy to do this.
Yeah.
Right? The deterrent for most people, I don't know if I can put energy aside. Well, you got your lunch break, right? Get out of your chair, go walk for 10 minutes. Okay? That's your thing. Put on your favorite music and go walk, go relax. Okay. Maybe call your wife, call your husband, call your brother, watch something funny on TV. Whatever you got to do to put some good energy into you is always going to be beneficial, but you got to do a little bit every day.
Yeah. And so you got to invest in yourself and
look
after yourself, right?
And now you're giving from excess. Most people are giving from deficiency, which is why they have to end these relationships. If you really care about these relationships, then invest the energy into you in the morning. Mm-hmm. Don't invest it into everyone else. Get up in the morning, spend your first half an hour investing into you. And then you're going to have lots of energy at the end of the day to give to other people. But if you don't invest in you, at the end of the day, you come back from work, you're always like, hey, we got to finish up the garage and and it's 9:00 at night. And you're like, oh, I still haven't done my 30 minutes that I promised myself that I would do. And now you promised yourself, you didn't follow through, you broke your word to yourself, you lowered your self-esteem. And now the next day it becomes more difficult. Just get up, get out of bed, and devote the first 30 minutes to yourself. I don't care if it's just listening to a podcast in the kitchen while you're cooking your kids' breakfast. Something positive that you want solely for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best bet.
Sounds like that's probably the best thing. I know personally for me, like I feel that too, like that need to have that alone time, that me time in the morning, and just to really, it is just to exist. And so I even started deliberately getting up about an hour earlier than anyone else does in the house, just so that I have that. And I can tell you, if someone is up when I get up because they woke up early, I'm like, oh no, this is going to throw me off the day. But now people in my life know that that's what I'm trying to achieve as well,
Right.
because I've told them that. Like if they get up and I'm up, they just don't engage with me, and they allow me to have that space. Right.
That's a major key. That's like literally just inform the people that share space with you. They'll get out of your way. They actually don't care. No one actually wants to interfere with what you're doing. But if you don't inform people what it is you want to experience, they will get in your way, because every human on the planet wants what they want when they want it.
Absolutely.
This is how we're designed.
Yeah.
And if you inform them because you care about them, not because you care about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And once they realize that, wow, you really care about me, you informed me to let me know what's important to you. Now that comes back to you, because they're going to give you that love. They're going to give you that space. And that hour, it's like, and I know for a lot of you, an hour seems daunting. Start with 20 minutes. Like get up 20 minutes early, go for a 10-minute walk, sit down, write down your goals for the day, what you want to experience for 5 minutes, listen to a podcast on your way to work, either about nutrition, about breath work, about energy work, about something. Like engage your brain. By the time you get to work, you've already fed yourself. Right? You're going to be more alive. You're going to be more light in your heart. Your mind's going to be more quiet. You're going to be more engaged. You're going to feel like this life that you're living is feeding you too. Because I know the pressure of men, and women have a different kind of pressure in the world, but men, we definitely have the pressure to produce. And so at some point when you're just so drained and someone else wants something else, it feels like, what am I getting out of this?
Right.
Right. And that too, if you're not feeding you, you will get to that place. And then you're going to start running currents of resentment. Yeah. And resentment destroys every relationship, because it's the most toxic form of anger, because it's undetectable. Someone else can't tell you that you're running resentment, because it's like, you've had a barbecue and the coals have cooled down inside of the pit, and there's just a very slight red hue, like almost like a pink hue to them. Well, no one can tell you're angry. Mm-hmm. No one can tell you're bothered, that they're like, hey, would you do this for me? And you're like, oh my God. So look, communicate, positive stress management tool. Communicate to those that share your sphere of influence, that share your common space, what your desires, your goals, and your wants are in terms of what it is you want to experience. And they will serve you powerfully.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Christopher. This has been awesome. Hopefully very enlightening for all of our listeners. So to our listeners, I have included all of Christopher's information at painfreeforlife.com/podcast. So until next time, I'm Dr. Rob Vanbergen, and you're listening to Pain Free for Life.
Thanks for listening to Pain Free for Life. Be sure to follow us, share the show with family and friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. Every time you share the show, you are helping someone take their life back from pain. Visit painfreeforlife.com for more resources, including our free guides to microcurrent, the Hache protocol and inflammation, as well as our blog and online community full of people just like you, successfully overcoming all kinds of chronic and extreme conditions to live happy, productive, pain-free lives forever. And stay tuned for the next episode of Pain Free for Life.